परिधारम् चन्दन कर्पूर सर्वाङ्गम् पूर्णनेत्रम् कुण्डलयुगमण्डितश्रवणम् मन्दस्मितमुखकमलम् स्वगोदारमणिहारम् वलयाङ्गुलीयकाद्यानुज्ज्वलयन्तम् स्वलङ्कारः गलविलुलितवनमालम् स्वतेजसा प्रास्तगलिकालम् गुञ्जाहारिकलिकम् गुञ्जागिते शिरसि गुञ्जानं सर्वगोपरि गुञ्जानरिवर्तिनं मन्दारपुष्पवासित मन्दारनिलसेवितपरानन्दम् मन्दाकिनीयुगपदम् नमतमहानन्ददम् महापुरुषम् सुरवीकृतविह्वलयम् सुरविशतैरावृतः परितः सुरवीक्षपणमहा सुरवीमं राघवं नमः।
वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय, राशेश्वरी राधा रानी की जय, जगतगुरु श्री कृपालु जी महाराज की जय, राधा गोविंद धाम की जय, जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे।
ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु गुरुदेवो गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म श्री गुरुदेव वसुदेव सुतदेव देवकी परमानंदं कृष्णं वन्दे कस्तूरी शिलकं ददातु वक्षस्थले कौस्तुभं नासाग्रे वरमौक्तिकं करतले वीणुतले कंठे च मुक्तावली गोपस्त्री परिविष्टितो विजयते गोपाल सुराम।
राधे राधे।
We'll do a few minutes of Kirtan, and after that, we'll continue with Ram Katha. एकदम पास बैठना पड़ता है। सिया राम जय जय राम। सिया राम जय जय राम। सिया राम जय जय सब साधन कर या फल सुंदर स्वार्थ साथ जीव करे मन क्रम वचन राम पद सब कर मत खगनायक हरि राम पद साधन सब कर फल हरि भगत बोलो राघवेंद्र सरकार की। ड्रम को भी म्यूट किया करो। Continuing with Sundarkand, yesterday you heard how Hanumanji went and met with Sita Mata and received the boon of his life to receive her blessings there in the Ashokvan. And she presented him with her Churamani so that he would have a token to show to Bhagwan Ram to give evidence that he really had met with her. Hanumanji came back and with all the monkeys and bears went back to Kishkinda and met with Ram, met with Sugriv and then with Ram. So when Hanumanji was relating to Shri Ram the whole incident, then he also had a message from Sita ji. Sita, when Hanumanji was leaving, he said, tell the Lord of Raghus, give him this message from me. That, how is it you've forgotten me? I'm waiting for you. I have to admit though that I have this fault for sure. I see a fault within myself that my soul did not depart from this body the moment I was separated from you. That I admit is a bad thing. But it's not my fault, it's my eyes' fault. Why? Because in separation from you, although my body is burning in the fire of viraha, and my body could be just like cotton that would just burst into flames and it would be finished and burnt by the fire of separation that I feel for you, yet my eyes retain this selfish desire that they wish to gaze upon your beautiful form again. And they are continuously shedding tears out of that longing to meet with you. And those tears are dousing that fire. So that is the only reason that I haven't left my body. It's my eyes' fault. So this message Hanumanji delivered to Lord Ram. And he said, let us not delay any further. He called all of the commanders and had them organize the march from Kishkinda down to Rameshwaram. By the time they reached Rameshwaram, as I mentioned to you yesterday, something had happened in the court of Ravan. Ravan's younger brother, Vibhishan. You'll remember in the beginning I told you that the three brothers, Ravan, Kumbhakarna, and Vibhishan, they had all received boons from Brahma. Ravan's boon was that he could not be killed by anyone except for a man or a monkey. A lot of people over the ages have wanted to ask for immortality, but that is one boon that Brahma never gives. So they try to ask for some version of immortality, right? Like Hiranyakashipu asked that I should not be killed by a man or beast, by any weapon in the day or at night or in the air or on the ground or inside nor outside. Something like this, Ravan said, okay, if I can't ask for immortality, let it be so that I cannot be killed by anyone or anything except for men, humans, or monkeys. Because he's thinking, what is some human being or monkey ever going to do to me? So he figured he was as good as immortal. And Kumbhakarna received the boon of being able to sleep for 6 months like a bear. Sleep for 6 months and then wake up and then go back again, go back to sleep again. Otherwise, he was so big, he would have eaten everything on earth. No one else would have been able to live. And Vibhishan had received the boon of devotion to the lotus feet of Ram. So Vibhishan, even though he was living in Lanka amongst all the demons, he was ever devoted to the feet of Lord Ram. And he gave sage counsel to his older brother Ravan. He said, don't, you're risking your own life, your city, your kingdom, and the entire demon race by opposing Lord Ram. So, and return Sita to him at once and go and fall at his feet, take refuge at his feet and ask for forgiveness. He never turns anyone away. How did Ravan respond to this kind advice? He kicked his younger brother. Now, how did his younger brother respond to that? He clasped his older brother's feet. Tulsidas Ji says, this is the way of saints. We give them gali, we make their life miserable, and for the hardships that we mete out to them, they give good back to us. Just like a tree, we throw rocks at the mango tree to knock fruit out. So what answer does that mango tree give to our throwing rocks at it? It gives us sweet fruit. Saints are like that. But Ravan said to him, if you are so attached to these hermits, he's always, even though he also cherishes devotion to Ram and Lakshman, but as I've explained, this is his role in the Leela, to be the villain. So he says, if you're so attached to these two hermits, why don't you go and give them kind advice? I don't want to hear your advice. So Vibhishan said, you know what? I will. And he just flew through the air across the ocean right to Ram's camp. The monkeys obviously saw him coming and they recognized him, brother. So the report came to Ram that Ravan's brother is approaching. Ram asked Sugriv that, what do you think I should do? Sugriv said, he's obviously coming as a spy. You should capture him and keep him as a prisoner. Ram said, that is good advice from the perspective of war and statecraft. But the problem is that I have taken a vow. Everyone knows, the whole world knows, that if anyone comes to me and surrenders to me, I can't turn them away. I have to accept them. And he said, besides, Nirmal man jan so mohi pava, mohi kapat chal chidra na bhava. He says, there's no way he could be coming to me if he was not pure of heart. This is also a secret, that God accepts us once our heart is fully purified. It is the guru that God sends who does all the work in the meantime. Jagat Guru Shri Kripaluji Maharaj says that Guruji does the work of explaining the philosophy to us, removing our spiritual doubts, putting up with all of our childish behavior, selfish behavior, shows us how to do sadhana to purify our heart, stays with us and encourages us, inspires us to do more sadhana until we finally reach that point of 100% purity. Nirmala man jana so mohi pava, Ram says. Only the one of completely pure heart will come to me. So Guruji has done all the work, and once the devotee is completely pure of heart, then Ram comes. So Shri Maharaj Ji says it's like the mother and father who raise their daughter, educate her, teach her how to behave, bring her up until she's grown up. They spend all the time, all the money, all the effort. And then what happens? Some young man comes and says, yes, she'll make a good wife, and he carries her off. The parents did all the work, and the husband is going to reap the benefits. He says jokingly, similarly, Bhagwan Sahab waits until Guruji has done all of the hard work. And once our heart is fully clean, tab Bhagwan Sahab aate hain. तो भक्त कहता है कि आप आए हैं गुरुजी, मेरे गुरुजी ने सारा काम किया है. हाँ हाँ, मैं भी उनको मानता हूँ, मैं भी उनकी चरण रज चाहता हूँ, इसीलिए अनुब्रजाम्य हम नित्यम पूये त्यांघ्रिरेणुभि. Bhagavatam. Shri Krishna says, I desire the foot dust of the God-realized saint, so that I can be purified by his foot dust. So I also look up to Guruji. Anyway, Guru and God are one and the same. God sends the Guru to prepare us so we'll be ready to meet God face to face. Or you can say God himself comes in the form of the Guru. In one form, God teaches us and inspires us and gets us to the point where we're ready to meet him in his original form, as Ram, as Krishna. So, Mohi kapate chhal chhidra nabhava. Ram says, I am not attracted by the heart of a person whose heart is full of kapat, means craftiness. They're manipulative. Chhal chhidra means the same thing. The one whose heart is not simple and straightforward and pure, I am not attracted by that heart. Nabhava. I don't like that. So our heart at the moment is full of that. Although in the world we have to be clever, Kripaluji Maharaj says, हाँ अपनी बुद्धि का प्रयोग करो. क्यों? ताकि दूसरों के 420 में न पड़े. लेकिन दूसरों के ऊपर 420 चलाने के लिए उसलिए बुद्धि नहीं है. Don't use your cleverness to trick others. Use your cleverness to avoid the traps set for you by others. So you do have to be clever in the world, but on the inside, you should be simple and straightforward. And certainly before God, there is no need for any kind of deceit, cleverness, craftiness. That won't work on him anyway. He sees our thoughts before we even realize exactly what thought we're having. So how would we ever fool him? We say the prayers to him. We chant his arti. We pray to him, and yet our heart is not fully surrendered to him. We may say, Tvameva Mata, Chapita Tvameva. You alone are my mother. You alone are my father. So we're saying the words, but our heart belies our true feelings, which is that we're much more attached in the world than we are to him, and yet we're putting on a nice show in front of him when we come to the mandir. But he knows our heart. So we are full of kapat and chal, even in terms of our devotion to God. We're not fully honest in our devotion. Nonetheless, whatever we are, we are. What can we do? We can only start from where we are. So luckily, God makes all the arrangements, does everything he can to grace us by sending us saints, sending us gurus. And if we take their guidance, then we can progress forward. So, Vibhishan arrived, bowed down to Ram, and Ram had him sit on the seat right next to him. You can tell who carries Sakhya Bhav for Ram in their heart. Ram immediately makes them sit right next to him, just like he did with the Nishad, Guha. Same thing with Sugriv. Sugriv loved Ram with Sakhya Bhav. So friends, equals. However you love God, God loves you the same way in return. Hanumanji worshipped Ram with Dasya Bhav. Therefore, he never sat on the same seat as Ram. He never would have thought of it. Never. So whatever bhav the devotee has in his heart, Ram returns that in kind. So Vibhishan sat right there next to Ram, and they discussed, they talked. Ram asked him, how is it that you're managing in Lanka? How did you maintain your devotion? He says, Ram says to Vibhishan, it would be better to ask the Creator to give you a birth in Narak, in hell, than to have him give you a birth where you're getting kusang. Kusang means bad association, the association of people who affect you in a wrong way. It says it would be better to be born in hell than to have such association in one's life, and yet you survived in Lanka all these years and still maintained your devotion. It's amazing. So then Ram asked Vibhishan, we need to have this whole army cross the ocean and get to Lanka. So what should be done? He said, I think you should pray to the god of the ocean. Even though your one arrow could dry up the whole ocean, but just out of formality, why don't you pray to him and ask him? Ram said, sounds like a good idea. So for 3 days, Ram sat and paid obeisances to Sagar, the ocean god. But out of pride and arrogance, he never responded. So Ram said, okay, we tried it the easy way. Now we'll do it the hard way. He fit an arrow to his bow, a flaming arrow, that immediately started boiling the ocean, as if it would just dry up in a matter of minutes. So then Sagar came out in his personal form and begged forgiveness from Ram for his impudence. So Ram immediately accepted him, forgave him, and then he asked him, what should we do to cross you? So he said, 2 of your servants, Nal and Neel, they've received a boon that whatever rock they touch, instead of sinking, it will float. So why don't you have them build a bridge across? Sounded like a good idea. Ram liked the idea. Sagar told him, although you could just cross, I know you don't need my help, but if you do this, it will spread your name, it will spread your fame all over the world if you have such a bridge built. So Ram called for Jamvant and Hanuman and all of his counselors, and he explained the situation. So then Jamvant called for Nal and Neel, and he told them what they had to do. And then they told all the monkeys, go and bring all the rocks and mountains and trees. Just keep bringing them. So Nal and Neel stood on the seashore, and all the monkeys started ripping up mountains and trees and big rocks and bringing it. And these things were like balls that you would play with. They would just touch them and put them in the ocean. And just like that, very quickly, they bridged the whole 800-mile gap. They made it very well, so that it was all tightly packed and made for a nice roadway. So it wasn't only rocks, according to Ramayana, there were trees in there as well. It it was such an amazing thing that all the beings living in the sea, all the sea creatures, small and big and bigger and bigger, they all came up to the surface to see what was going on. So Ram and Lakshman, they're on a hill just near the seashore, and they're looking down on the progress, and they see all these sea creatures. So many of them have gathered that you can't even see the surface of the water anymore. It was an amazing sight. Now at this point, Ram decided, this is such a beautiful place, I want to establish a mandir of God Shiva here. So he called for rishis, and they made out of sand beautiful shivling, and they performed all the Vedic ceremonies and established that shivling. And Bhagavan Ram said that everyone should know from this day forth that if they worship me but hold enmity in their heart to God Shiva, then they are not my true devotee. And if they worship God Shiva and hold enmity for me in their heart, then they are not a true devotee of God Shiva. Someone who has this type of wrong thinking, he says, until the end of the Kal, they'll stay in Narak as a punishment for such evil thoughts. So we should always remember that all the forms of God are one, not just Ram and Shiva. At the time, anyway, that's another story. Not just Ram and Shiva, Krishna, Durga, Vishnu, Saraswati, Lakshmi, Ganesh, Kartikeya. These are all one, internally one. So we should never have Bheda Buddhi. We should never ever think even that there are different personalities. Ki Shiv ji koi hai or Ram ji koi aur hai. They're not two personalities. They're one and the same. So we have to get that firmly established in our mind, that all forms of God are one divine personality. Internally, they are one. None is greater or lesser. They are all equal because they are one and the same. Like if one time, let's say, you visited England and you went over there and you met someone who became your friend. And maybe a week there, you became good friends. They liked you very much. America, maybe a year later, you again flew to India, to England, and you met with your friend again. And this time you looked slightly different. Maybe your hair had grown out and you'd grown a beard. This time you were wearing kurta pajama or sari when you were with them. And this time you decided to wear Western clothes. So you spend another week with your friend, and then you go back. And the next year you go, and you look slightly different again, you've aged. So your friend says to you, you know, I liked that person I met 2 years ago better than I like you. What are you talking about? That's me. There's no difference. That's how God must think about us. If we're saying, oh, I like Bhagwan Ram, I don't like God Shiva so much. He's saying, what are you talking about? Wahi main hoon. God visits the earth in various forms from time to time, and all of those forms eternally exist and are omnipresent. It's hard for us to understand, but it's a fact. So they built the bridge. Meanwhile, Ram is establishing the Shivling at Rameshwaram. And once it was all ready, then Ram gave the order, okay, head across. So he and Lakshman stayed on the shore and they watched this amazing scene. There were so many monkeys and bears, they couldn't all fit on the bridge at once. So some of them were flying through the air. Some of them were hopping on the backs of the sea creatures because there were so many sea creatures crowding around to look. So Ram and Lakshman were very amused by this. They were just watching this and laughing at the whole scene. Anyway, they very quickly crossed over and they reached a beautiful hill in Lanka named Subail, Subail Mountain. And they set up camp there. they've reached Lanka, it's getting towards the evening, so they set up camp on this Subail mountain. And Lakshman sees a beautiful place on the very top of this beautiful mountain. So he collects some fresh leaves and flowers and he creates like a proper nice seat and bed for Ram. And Ram comes and sits on that, and Sugriv sits like this, and Ram just reclines with his head in Sugriv's lap. And he extends his feet, and Hanuman and Angad get to press Ram's feet and legs. And Vibhishan is sitting here next to him, and he's just whispering some things in Ram's ear. And Ram has put his bow to one side and his quiver to the other side. And he's just having one arrow in his hands and kind of playing with it. In other words, he's just sitting and relaxing. And Lakshman is standing guard with his bow and arrow drawn and watching around. So Tulsidas Ji says, blessed are the people who keep this jhanki in their mind and ever just keep thinking of this view, this scene of Bhagwan Ram relaxing on top of Mount Subail with his head in Sugriv's lap, Hanumanji and Angad pressing his feet, and Vibhishan sitting by talking to him, and Ram just casually playing with an arrow in his hands. So as Ram is lying there, he sees in the east that the full moon is rising. So he says, see, the moon, the light it casts creates a very romantic atmosphere. But for one who is separated from his beloved, that only serves to intensify his feeling of separation, his feeling of viraha. So he says, look at this moon, just wandering across the sky like a lion without a care in the world. How do you think he got his dark spot? He asks his friends, how do you think the moon got that dark spot? So one of them says that, Rahu one time he hit the moon, so it became dark from that. Someone else says when Brahma was creating Rati, Rati is the wife of Kamdev. So we normally refer to Kamdev as the god of love, but it's a Kamdev and Rati. They are the god of love and beauty in the material world. So when he was creating Rati, he took something out of the moon in order to make her. So that left like a hole in the moon that appears as this dark spot. And someone else said, no, it's the shadow of the earth on the moon. So Ram said, no, I know what it is. The moon is very fond of poison, because poison came out of the ocean churning, the Samudra Manthan, right? And so did the moon. So they're brothers. The moon has poison for a brother. So he holds poison very dear in his heart. And that's why he appears dark like that. And that's why his rays, with his rays, he's spreading that poison around, which only serves to increase the suffering of those who are separated from their beloved. So Ram is expressing his viraha for Sita. Hanumanji says, no, my lord, the moon holds you in his heart. And you are a very dark complexion, and that's why he has that dark hue to him. Then Ram looks to the south. He says, oh, Vibhishan, do you see? It looks like some clouds have gathered there in the south, and they're coming dark and coming lower to the ground, and there's lightning and thunder. It looks like there may be a hailstorm. What should we do? Vibhishan said, my lord, those are no clouds. That is Ravan's city over there. And that is his palace. And in his palace, right now, he's enjoying a performance, a music and dance performance. So where he sits on his throne, there's a chhatri above it. It's not really an umbrella. It looks like an umbrella, but it's a proper chhatri that you keep over the head of someone regal as a sign of respect. So his chhatri is so big and dark that it looks like clouds that have gathered. And the lightning you see, those are actually the ornaments that Mandodari is wearing, Ravan's wife, her ear pendants. They're flashing like lightning. And the sound that you hear that sounds like thunder, it's the drums that are being beat during the dance performance. So Ram said, looking at Ravan's arrogance, that he knows, because when Ram had arrived, he told all the monkeys and bears, he says, you must be hungry, go out and find some fruits to eat. So they marauded all around outside the city. They didn't enter the city, but they marauded all around outside, helping themselves to whatever fruits they could find. And wherever they found a poor stray demon wandering around, they grabbed hold of him and teased him and smacked him. And so those that escaped, they went back to Lanka and they reported that Ram has crossed the ocean with this whole army. And Ravan was somewhat taken aback. He already crossed the ocean. But then he, recovered and started acting normally. At that time, Mandodari had counseled him that, you see, you're seeing again and again who Ram is, and still you oppose him. Ravan said, I don't have anything to worry about. And he went to his place of enjoyment there where they would have all the entertainment. So Ram, seeing this, that ignoring our presence, he's still just enjoying without a care in the world. He fit an arrow to his bow, and with one arrow, he launched it. And it entered first, severing that chhatri that was obviously on a stick, cut that down, knocked all of Ravan's 10 crowns off of his head, knocked both of Mandodari's ear pendants off, and came right back and went in his quiver. Now it happened so fast that no one in Lanka even saw it. And they're thinking, was there an earthquake? Was there some big wind? I didn't feel anything. There was no shaking. There was no wind blowing. How did it happen? It seemed like an evil omen. Ravan shook that off too. Oh, don't worry. What are you all so worried about? It's no big deal. So anyway, the night passed like this. And Ram awoke at first light and called his counselors and said, what should we do? So Jamvan suggested, why don't we send Angad as a doot, as a messenger, to go and talk with Ravan and see if something comes out of that. Maybe, Ravan will come to his senses. So Ram told Angad that I don't have to give you any special instructions. You're intelligent enough to know what I want done. You go and meet with Ravan and then report back to us. So Angad is thinking in his heart that ye to swayam siddha hai. Ram is self-accomplished. Whatever he thinks will be done. He doesn't need me to accomplish anything for him, and yet he's assigning me a task to do. It's only to increase my devotion, give me a chance to come close to him by serving him. So he felt very happy to be given this seva. He enters Lanka as a messenger. And there everyone saw him and was afraid of him, because the only other monkey they had met was Hanumanji, and you know what he did? Burned the whole city to the ground, killed Aksh, one of Ravan's sons, frightened everybody. So they all thought maybe it was Hanumanji who had returned, and everyone was screaming and running in all directions. Another one of Ravan's sons came and opposed Angad, tried to kick him, just caught his foot and threw him, and he was also finished. So that's two of Ravan's sons gone. Angad comes, enters Ravan's court and tells the demons, go call for Ravan. He's so confident with Ram's grace. He has nothing to fear in the midst of all those demons. So Ravan comes and they start talking back and forth. He says, who are you and why have you come? He says, actually, I represent Lord Ram and Lakshman, and they sent me as a messenger because they thought that we might have some special connection, because you and my father were good friends. Vali, Angad's father, one time when Ravan came and tried to disturb a yajna he was doing, Vali caught him in a headlock like this and held him under his arm like that for 1 month until he could finish his yajna, and then he let him go and Ravan escaped back to Lanka. So this is what Angad is referring to. In this way, they had some banter back and forth. And Angad, at one point, had heard enough because Ravan kept insulting Ram, calling him an ordinary man. So Angad slammed both of his fists on the ground, and it shook the palace so much Ravan lost his balance and almost fell off his throne. So as he lurched like that, all 10 of his crowns fell off of his head. He quickly tried to pick them up and put them back on, but he only managed to get 6 of them back on. And Angad swiftly, with one kick, sent the other 4 soaring through the air. Subail, where Ram was. So the monkeys over there saw them coming and they're so shiny. They thought, meteors, shooting stars in the day? How is it possible? Ram said, no, these are Ravan's crowns. Angad is sending them to us. So Hanumanji leapt forth and caught all 4 of them and laid them at Ram's feet. Then Angad said, okay, because even then Ravan didn't stop talking nonsense about Ram. So he says, enough is enough. I issue a challenge to you. He planted his foot. He stood there in the court and he planted his foot and he says, I dare anyone here or all of you, I don't care, try to make me lift my foot off the ground. And if I fail, if you are able to make my foot move, I will forfeit Sita to you right here and now. You keep her. Imagine, so much confidence. So all the demons came, some of them alone, some of them together in teams, and none of them could even make Angad budge from that spot. So then Ravan came forth. So Angad is standing there with his foot out, and Ravan comes and he clasps his foot, and Angad immediately says, fool, do you think you can save yourself by touching my feet? Go and surrender to Ram's feet. Ravan was shocked. Oh my God, I've been so badly insulted. And he hung his 10 heads and went back and sat on his throne, feeling dejected. So then Angad said, enough is enough, and he left and went back to Ram. Ravan was feeling very dejected. And at this point, Mandodari, for a 3rd time, takes the opportunity to try to convince Ravan. The whole night she counseled him, saying that you should really, now you've seen enough is enough. Even his servants Hanuman and Angad made a fool of you, and you're willing to go and face Ram, it will be the death of everyone in the demon race. So Tulsidas Ji says that a reed, a reed is a very simple thing. It produces no flower, no fruit. It doesn't matter if the clouds rain nectar upon it, it's still going to be a useless thing. In the same way, Murakh hridaya nachet jo Guru milahi biranchi sama. Even if someone receives a guru as qualified as Brahma to provide guidance, if the person is an utter fool, then they will not awaken. Even a guru as great as Brahma cannot help someone if they are unwilling to be helped. Shri Krishna himself went to Duryodhan, God himself, and still Duryodhan refused to change. Ravan was the same. He ignored the sweet words, humble words, and good advice of his wife and said, "Do I have anyone to fear? Look at me." So the morning came. In the morning, Ram asked Angad to report on how Lanka is laid out. So he explained how the city is laid out and how it's surrounded by these huge golden walls, but that there are 4 main gates on the 4 sides of the city, 4 huge gates in that wall. So again, Ram always gives the seva to his servants. He called on his counselors, Hanuman, Jamvan, Sugriv, etc., and said, how should we approach this? Let's make a plan. So they divided everyone up into the whole army into 4 parts. And then each part attacked from north, south, east, and west. So that morning they went out. They again picked up mountains and trees as their weapons. That's all the monkeys and bears have for weapons. And they all began to approach the gates. So when Ravan heard from the guards along the wall that Ram was beginning to attack, Ravan told all of his demons, you go and climb the wall, climb to the top, and get rid of these monkeys and bears. So in this way, the war began, and exactly what happened after that, we'll actually have to wrap that up tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the last day in this Katha, so we'll talk about what happened in the war and how this part of the Ramayana ends. Bolo Raghavendra Sarkar Ki Jai. We'll have a few minutes of Kirtan and then we will hold you. Raja Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram Raja Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram Ram Raja Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram Raja Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Sita सियावर रामचंद्र भगवान की। Just a couple of announcements about upcoming programs. We have 3 coming up. One will be this coming Saturday, actually. Of course, not counting tomorrow. Tomorrow is the Shahra, that goes without saying. We'll be having Ram Kirtan and Ram Katha and Ravan Dahan and Prashad. All of these things will be happening tomorrow. But this coming Saturday is also the birthday of Jagadguru Shri Kripalji Maharaj. It's also the day that Maharas Leela was performed by Radha Krishna 5,000 years ago. It is Sharad Purnima. So we're having a special program here to celebrate Sharad Purnima. It will be from 7 p.m. how we normally start with Aarti. After that, we'll be having quite a long program up until midnight, because midnight is the actual time when Maharas happened. And midnight is also the time when Kripalji Maharaj appeared. So please do come and join us for Sharad Purnima celebrations. If anyone would like to sponsor the dinner prashad on that night, you can talk to the Ghai family, Lakshmikant and Manju, do that seva of organizing the dinner prashad. 2 weeks after that, of course, will be Diwali. So Diwali will be celebrated here on Saturday, October 29th. That's right, I think, right? Is it Saturday? It's Sunday?
I think we'll check. 28 is Lakshmi Puja. 29.
29th. Yeah. 29th, Saturday the 20th. It has to be 2 weeks after Sharad Purnima. So 2 weeks after that, on Saturday, October 29th, we'll be celebrating Diwali. So again, if anyone, on that day, you can bring your own diya. You can bring some crackers. We usually do crackers outside on the sidewalk. And if anyone wants to sponsor the dinner prashad for Diwali, you can also talk to the Ghai family. In addition to that, this coming it's this Sunday, right? The health fair. this coming Sunday, we're having a health fair from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. And amongst all the services that are provided by the doctors, there are free flu shots being given out as well. And it's first come, first served basis, so do come early. It starts at 10.
We also want to do flyering on Saturday for the health camp a little bit if anybody wants to help.
Okay, if anyone wants to help distribute flyers this Saturday to help announce in our neighborhood about the health fair that's happening, you can see Rohit and he'll provide you with some flyers. So we'll offer the dinner prasad, the bhog. The Sachadev family is our dinner prasad sponsors tonight, so please come forward and offer them. Would someone like to sing bhog? It's fine actually. The curtain has a rasa.
Oh, किधर गई?
इसको बंद करो।